Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances. So today we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is the day 2 of our Nrsimha Katha, Shri Nrsimha Dev Katha, day 2. So we are going to start with Mangalacharan. So please let's invoke Shri Shri Lakshmi Dev Bhagwan and seek the blessings of all the Vaishnava Acharyas before we start reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. So as we read from the second chapter yesterday from Srimad Bhagavatam, the 7th canto, the science of God, we had seen how Hiranyakashipu actually had sent all his associates to go and to create havoc. So this is what we're going to see today after sending all his associates to go and to, we should say, hurt all the people who are following Brahminical culture. So then Hiranyakashipu, after ordering his associate, he went to do tapasya because he wanted to become immortal. So this is going to be today's topic of discussion. So we start with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shutpat Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udairayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajjanaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Madhav Jai Jaya Prabhupada 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 So dear devotees, we wish to welcome you all again for today's Sri Nrsimha Katha, day 2, and we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 3, entitled Hiranyakashipu's Plan to Become Immortal. So we already did a recap of what we discussed yesterday from the chapter 2, how Hiranyakashipu had sent all his associates to come to planet Earth and to create disturbance, because he wanted to kill Bhagavan Vishnu, and he knew the strategy was to stop all Brahminical cultures and also all these Kshatriya government. He wanted to get rid of everyone so that, then no one would perform yajna, and as such all the demigods, all the devis would become very weak. So we now move to chapter 3, and let's see what Hiranyakashipu's plan is there to become immortal. So who he is going to worship to become immortal. So in the first verse, we're going to read together. Shri Narada Uvacha Hiranyakashipu Rajan Ajayam Ajaramaram Atmanam Aprati Dvandvam Ekarajam Yadhisthata. Translation. Narad Muni said to Maharaj Yudhishthir. So this is the conversation between Srila Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Narad Muni is explaining to Yudhishthir Maharaj about how Hiranyakashipu will be going to do now austerities to become immortal. So the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu wanted to be unconquerable and free from old age and dwindling of the body. He wanted to gain all the yogic perfections like Anima and Laghima, to be deathless and to be the only king of the entire universe, including Brahmaloka. So we see how envious people, they want to become immortal, and what are the strategies? We are having a look at the example. If you see how Hiranyakashipu, what he's going to do. So here in the next verse, Satepe mandara dronyam tapaha paramadarunam urdo bahur nabho drishti padam gushta shitavaniha. In the translation, in the valley of Mandar hill, Hiranyakashipu began performing his austerities by standing with his toes on the ground. So we're going to see how much austerity he's going to perform now, keeping his arms upward and looking toward the sky. This position was extremely difficult, but he accepted it as a means to attain perfection. So he wanted to attain this kind of siddhis, and now we're going to see what he's going to do, for how many years he's going to stay like that. Jata diditi bhireje samvartarka ivam shubhi tasmim satapasya tapyamane devasthanani bhejire. The translation. From the hair of Hiranyakashipu's head there emanated an effulgent light as brilliant and intolerable as the rays of the sun at the time of dissolution. Seeing the performance of such austere penances, the demigods who had been wandering throughout the planets now returned to their respective homes. So the devis were worried, though they returned to their respective homes, but they were seeing the penance, how Hiranyakashipu was doing so much tapasya. So they were also worried. So we'll see shortly what Hiranyakashipu is up to. So in the 4th verse, Srila Vyasadeva writes, Tasya murdhanaha samudbhutaha sadhumogneistapomaya tiryag urdhvam adholokan paratavad vishwag iritaha. So in the translation, we see that because of Hiranyakashipu's severe austerities, fire came from his head, and this fire and smoke spread throughout the sky, encompassing the upper and lower planets, which all became extremely hot. So this is how he already started his disturbance, by doing this tapasya. And now we know when demons, they do tapasya, they want some fruit. So what was the fruit? We're going to see after a few verses what he's going to ask for from Lord Brahmāji. So we continue. Chukshubho nadyo davantaha swadvipadrish chachalabhuh nipetuha sagraha satara jadvalushcha disho dasha. So in all the 10 directions, we're going to see now what's happening. Because of the power of his severe austerities, all the rivers and oceans were agitated. The surface of the globe with its mountains and islands began trembling, and the stars and planets fell. All directions were ablaze. Such was the power of Hiranyakashipu's tapasya, his penances. So we see how strong he was as a demon in his tapasya. Even demoniac people, they do tapasya, but their aim is different. As we see here, the aim of Hiranyakashipu, he wanted to kill Lord Vishnu. So in the 6th verse, Shrivyasadev writes, Tena tapta divam tyaktva brahmalokam yayuha suraha adhatre vigyapayamasur deva deva jagatpate daityendra tapasa tapata devi sthatum na shakmunah maha. So in the translation, we see here that scorched and extremely disturbed because of Hiranyakashipu's severe penances. Now all the demigods left the planets where they reside. So they all went to the planet of Lord Brahma, where they informed the Creator as follows. So they were all now, they're expecting the worst to come, because Hiranyakashipu was doing so much of austerities. And now what would happen? Already they were being disturbed. All the Devta Devis were being disturbed by the fire that was emanating from his head and from his hair. So now they all went to see Lord Brahma, and here they started praying, "O Lord of the demigods, O Master of the universe, because the fire emanating from Hiranyakashipu's head as a result of his severe austerities, we have become so disturbed that we could not stay in our planets but have to come to you." So all the Devta Devis ran to Lord Brahma, because Brahmaji is the creator of this material universe. So they started praying to Brahmaji. So now what would Brahmaji do, or what would Brahmaji tell them? Tasya chopashamam bhuman vidhehi yadi manyase lokana yavan nakshanti balihara bhibhuh. In the translation, "O great person, chief of the universe, if you think it proper, kindly stop these disturbances meant to destroy everything before all your obedient subjects are annihilated." So this is how the Devta Devis, the demigods, are praying to Brahmaji so that he could help them go and stop Hiranyakashipu, because his penances were actually creating so much disturbance for everyone. Tasyayam kila sankalpash charato dushcharam tapaha shuyatam kim na viditas tavathapi niveditam. So here the demigods, the Devta Devis, they are informing Brahmaji that Hiranyakashipu has undertaken a most severe type of austerity. Although his plan is not unknown to you, kindly listen as we submit his intentions. So all the Devta Devis, they knew his intentions. Why was he performing so much penance? Because he wanted to become immortal, and he wanted to kill Bhagavan Vishnu. and which we know which is impossible for any living entity. But he was trying, and this is what even people of demoniac qualities in this material world also they want to do. They want to challenge Bhagavan. So we'll see how now Brahmaji is going to reciprocate to the Devta Devis. Shrishtva characharam idam tapo yoga samadhina adhyaste sarva dhishnebhyah parameshthi nijasanam tad aham vardhamanena tapo yoga samadhina kalatmanoscha nityatvat sadhayishye tathatmanah. So in the translation, the Supreme Person within this universe, Lord Brahma, has gotten his exalted post by dint of severe austerities, mystic power and trance. Consequently, after creating the universe, he has become the most worshipable demigod within it. Since I am eternal and time is eternal, I shall endeavor for such austerity, mystic power and trance for many, many births, and thus I shall occupy the same post occupied by Lord Brahma. So this was actually the intention of Hiranyakashipu, and this is what actually the Devta Devis were telling to Brahmaji. This is the intention of Hiranyakashipu. So he had the determination. He wanted to even occupy the position of Brahmaji. But this was impossible because Brahma has a long duration of life. And we know how long Brahmaji lives. If we consider it's mentioned in Shastra, 4,320 million years. That consists only of one day of Brahmaji. So, and Brahmaji lives for 100 years, such years. So just imagine how long Brahmaji lives. But this fool, Hiranyakashipu, he wanted to do some, some austerity, though he performed very tedious austerities, but he wanted to, as we mentioned here, to take the position of Brahmaji. In the next verse, Anyathedam vidhyaseham ayatha purvam ojasa kim anyeha kala nirdhuteha kalpante vaishnavadibhi. Translation: by dint of my severe austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. I shall overturn all the established practices within this world. Even Dhruvaloka will be vanquished at the end of the millennium. Therefore, what is the use of it? I shall prefer to remain in the position of Brahma. So we see already here the arrogance, how arrogant Hiranyakashipu was, because we all know the beautiful Katha of Dhruv Maharaj and how he was given Dhruvaloka by Sakshat Bhagwan Shri Hari, and he was also given the benediction, the blessings, the boon that Dhruvaloka will also be there even after the annihilation of the entire creation. So he wanted to change this. Hiranyakashipu wanted to change this. So we see how people like Hiranyakashipu, people who are, there's so much mean in the way of thinking that they're always there to create disturbances, even the creation of Bhagavan. So we move to the next verse. Iti shushrama nirbandham tapaha paramam asthitah vidatsavanantaram yuktam Swayam Tribhuvaneshwara. Translation: O Lord, we have heard from reliable sources that in order to obtain your post, Hiranyakashipu is now engaged in severe austerity. You are the master of the three worlds. Please, without delay, take whatever steps you deem appropriate. So this is how the Devta Devis had come to pray to Brahmaji so that he takes some action against this demon, Hiranyakashipu. In the next verse, text 13, Tavasanam dvijya gavam parameshcham jagatpate bhavaya shveshyase bhutye kshemaya vijayaya cha. So in the translation, O Lord Brahma, your position within this universe is certainly most auspicious for everyone, especially the cows and Brahmins. Brahminical culture and the protection of cows can be increasingly glorified, and thus all kinds of material happiness, opulence, and good fortune will automatically increase. But unfortunately, if Hiranyakashipu occupies your seat, everything will be lost. So here we see, dear devotees, dear family members, dear friends, and dear well-wishers, how it's very, very important to protect the Brahmins, Brahminical culture, and also how to protect cows. The Gaumata ki raksha karni chahiye is very, very important. So here, just to read from the purport, in this verse, the words Dvij Gavam Parameshtham indicate the most exalted position of the Brahmins, Brahminical culture, and the cows. So in our culture, in Vedic culture, the welfare of the cows and the welfare of the Brahmins are essential. Without a proper arrangement for developing Brahminical culture and protecting cows, all the affairs of administration will go to hell. So this is what Jaguru Srila Prabhupada is making us understand, that how it's very, very important to take care of Brahmins, how to take care of the Brahminical culture, and also how to protect cows. In the next verse, Iti vigyapito devair bhagavan atmabhir nripa parito bhrigu dakshadyer yayo detyeshwarashranam. So, O king, being thus informed by the demigods, the most powerful Lord Brahma, accompanied by Bhrigu, Daksh, and other great sages, immediately started for the place where Hiranyakashipu was performing his penances and austerities. So we see now, so even Lord Brahma was concerned now. He wanted to go and see what is this demon up to. So what is he doing actually? So in the next two verses, 15 and 16, Brahmaji is going to travel, and we'll see how he won't be able to see Hiranyakashipu in first place. So this is how Brahmaji is going to approach the place where he's doing his meditation, and he won't even see him. So we have some few key words here. We're going to read that. Na dadarsha prati channam valmikatrina kichakaiha pipilika bhir achirnam medastvam mam sashonitam tapantam tapasalokan yatha brahimitam ravim vilakshya vismitah praha hasamsatam hamsavahanah. The translation: so Lord Brahma, who is carried by a swan airplane, so we should know Brahmaji travels by a swan, at first could not see where Hiranyakashipu was. He could not see, for Hiranyakashipu's body was covered by an ant hill. So there's a very interesting word here, Valmik. Valmik, that's why we have heard of Valmiki Muni, because this word is coming from this term, Valmik. Valmik means actually, it's mentioned a mountain made of, it's an ant hill actually. It's called an ant hill, by an ant hill. So he was covered. So Hiranyakashipu's body was covered by an ant hill and by grass and bamboo sticks. Now because Hiranyakashipu had been there for a long time, the ants had devoured his skin, fat, flesh and blood. Then Lord Brahma and the demigods spotted him, resembling a cloud-covered sun, heating all the world by his austerity. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile and then addressed him as follows. So now Lord Brahmaji is now going to, should say, stop Hiranyakashipu's tapasya. He's going to stop him, and he's going to, there'll be a kind of conversation between Brahmaji and Hiranyakashipu. So in text 17, Shri Brahmo Vacha Utishta Bhadramate Tapaha Siddhosi Kashapa Varadoham Anuprapto Vrijatam Ipsito Varaha. So in the translation, Lord Brahma said, Shri Brahmo Vacha. Lord Brahma ji said, O son of Kashyap Muni. You should not forget that Kashyap Muni, one of the wives of Kashyap Muni, was Diti, and from Diti the Daitya or the demons who were born, and the first two demons that were born as twins were Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. So, and also on the other side we have Aditi. She is the mother of the Adityas or the Devatas. So here, O son of Kashyap Muni, please get up, please get up. All good fortune unto you. You are now perfect in the performance of austerities, and therefore I may give you a benediction. You may now ask from me whatever you desire, and I shall try to fulfill your wish. So this is how it used to be, whether they were Devta Devis or whether they were human beings or even demons. They used to do lots of austerity, meditation. That was in Satyug, and they would come. And finally, the Devta Devi on whom they are doing or they are meditating upon, that personality is going to appear and give them some boon, some benediction. So in the purport, in the very small purport here, we're going to read that. Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Skanda Purana, which says that Hiranyakashipu, having become a devotee of Lord Brahma, who is known as Hiranyagarbha, and having undergone a severe austerity to please him, is also known as Hiranyak. So another name, since Brahmaji is called Hiranyagarbha, so another name for Hiranyakashipu is Hiranyak. Now Rakshasas and demons worship various demigods, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, just to take the post of these demigods. We have seen so many instances. Even Lord Shiva, when he gave a boon to Bhasmasur. Bhasmasur wanted to touch even the head of Lord Shiva and said, I want to test that boon on you. Does it really work? So Lord Shiva had to run from there, and he was finally saved by Lord Vishnu. So we have so many beautiful kathas like this to show us the position of Bhagavan Sri Hari, or Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the superiority. So this we have already explained in, this has been explained in previous chapters and verses. So we continue to read, and we'll see now what boon Brahmaji is going to give to Hiranyakashipu. So in text 18, Adraksham aham etam te hritsaram mahad adbhutam damsha bhakshitta dehasya pranahiyastishu sherate. Translation: I have been very much astonished to see your endurance in spite of being eaten and bitten by all kinds of worms and ants. You are keeping your life air circulating within your bones. Certainly this is wonderful. So now Brahmaji is in some way kind of praising Hiranyakashipu, because the amount of austerity and to be able to bear that kind of suffering, in being beaten by and eaten by all kinds of worms and ants, still Hiranyakashipu was alive. So this is here in this purport that Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada is explaining. So it appears that the soul can exist even through the bones. This is something very interesting. Not for ordinary people. We won't be able to undergo all these things to understand that. But Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that. But it appears that the soul can exist even through the bones, as shown by the personal example of Hiranyakashipu. When great yogis, so this is actually done by yogis, so are in samadhi, even when their bodies are buried and their skin, marrow, blood, and so on have all been eaten, if only the bones remain, they can exist in a transcendental position. So just imagine the bones, the soul takes refuge of the bones. Now, very recently, an archaeologist published findings indicating that Lord Christ, after being buried, was exhumed and that he then went to Kashmir. So these are the findings. These are how actually, this is history. It's not, we're just mentioning things just like that. So anyone who wants to go and look for these research papers and all that, they can see it. There have been many actual examples of yogis being buried in trance and exhumed alive and in good condition several hours later. So all this is possible by these yoga practices. So a yogi can keep himself alive in a transcendental state, even if buried not only for many days, but for many years. So this is how we see that Hiraṇyakaśipu had been performing his penances. Very, very tough penance. And as we mentioned, that his soul had taken refuge of his bones. Text 19. Naitat purva shayas chakrur na karishyanti chapare nirambur dharayet prana kovai divya samaha shatam. Translation. Even saintly persons like Bhrigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerities. Nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. This is what Brahmaji is telling, is praising Hiraṇyakaśipu. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? For so many years, we see that Hiraṇyakaśipu had been performing penances. So it appears that even if a yogi doesn't drink a drop of water, he can live for many, many years by the yogic process, though his outer body be eaten by ants and moths. So we see the situation of Hiraṇyakaśipu here. So as we proceed, we move to the next verse. Vyavasayena tenena dushkarena manasvinam taponishtena bhavata jitoham diti nandana. So my dear son of Diti, with your great determination and austerity, you have done what was impossible even for great saintly persons, and this I have certainly been conquered by you. So Lord Brahmaji is telling that he has been conquered. So now he was ready to give him some boon. And this is what actually Hiraṇyakaśipu was waiting for. He has been waiting for all that for so many years, 100 celestial years. Tatasta ashishaha sarva dadam yasura pongava martasya te yamartasya darshanam naphalam mama. Translation. O best of the Asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. So we see how Brahmaji also, we should say he was amazed by this kind of austerity. Even Bhrigu Muni could not do that, but he was saying that Hiraṇyakaśipu, you have been doing all that. So now Brahmaji was ready to give him his blessings and benedictions. Now, there was a conversation between Srila Narad Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj. We should not forget. So here again we see that Narad Muni is saying, Shri Narad Uvacha Iti Uttvadi Bhavo Devo Bhakshitangam Pipilikaiha Kamandalu Jalein Okshad Divya Namoga Radhasa. So Sri Narad Muni continued, after speaking these words to Hiraṇyakaśipu, Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe, who is extremely powerful, sprinkled transcendental, infallible spiritual water from his kamandalu upon Hiraṇyakashipu's body, which had been eaten away by ants and moths. Thus he enlivened Hiraṇyakashipu. So we see here how Brahmaji is helping Hiraṇyakashipu to restore his body, or to revitalize his body. So we move to the next verse. Satatya ki chakka valmikat saho ojo balanvitah sarvavayeva sampanno vajra samhanano yuva uthitasya tapta hemabho vibhavasur ivaidhasah. Translation: as soon as he was sprinkled with water from Lord Brahma's water pot, Hiranyakashipu arose endowed with a full body, with limbs so strong that they could bear the striking of a thunderbolt. With physical strength and a bodily luster resembling molten gold, he emerged from the anthill a completely young man, just as fire springs from fuel wood. So we see how the body, how Hiranyakashipu was